marching to new heights of development under the dynamic and young leadership of Dr. Pramod Sawant. A visionary leader, a meticulous administrator, tirelessly working on the dream to take Goa ahead. Goa Ahead is brought to you by the Department of Information and Publicity, Government of Goa.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Goa Ahead. Today we are focusing on Goa's economy. Mining and tourism are two major sources of Goa's revenue mobilization. The state had highest per capita income and was considered as one of the most developed states in the country almost a decade back. Now, the state finances are in doldrums and the government is finding it difficult to pay even monthly salaries of its employees. What happened? Why this one prosperous state slipped into financial instability? Here is a report.
Goa's economy is in the ICU. It was in the ICU even before COVID hit India. COVID pushed it on a ventilator. The state, reeling under tremendous financial stress, had to resort to drop its populist schemes like 0% VAT on petroleum, no house tax in panchayat areas, e-tablets for school students, and proposed doles in the offing like unemployment allowance and freezing of LPG cylinder prices. It started trimming down and capping the list of beneficiaries of its popular schemes like DSS, Griha Aadhar, and the Ladli Lakshmi to avoid repeated default of monthly pension payments to beneficiaries. Every sector suffered, particularly after mining. One of Goa economy's major arms was abruptly shut down in 2012. Here is what happened to the growth after that. The fall in the GDP is reflected across the sectors and the sub-sectors too. With the limitations on the government spending post-mining closure, 2012-2013 witnessed a sub-sectoral drop in farming, agriculture, forest and fishing activity too. Growth in mining and quarrying was down by -68% and further -98% in 2013-14. The primary sector overall suffered a drop in growth up to -52%. The trend continued for a couple of years further till the state renewed the operational mining leases. It was a similar trend with a negative ripple effect across the sectors and sub-sectors like manufacturing, construction activity in the secondary, while the hospitality, trade, repairs, transport, storage and communication in the tertiary sector. Following 2 years post-mining ban led to a direct and a steep fall in GSDP growth by -15% to -12%. This is how the day-to-day state finances suffered a severe setback. The statistics show that never before 2013-14 the state has borrowed so hugely from Reserve Bank towards its regular revenue expenditure like paying monthly salaries and wages to its employees. Overdrafts are absolute zero till 2012-13 and then the RBI borrowings begin. From 52 crores in 2013-14 to 2,324 crores in 2015-16. That's almost 193 crore worth of overdrafts a month, which counts to almost 100% the then salary outlay through overdrafts. The lease renewals later in 2015 and resumption of mining to some extent relieved the pressure on the state finances, indicating a drop in RBI overdrafts from 2,324 crores in 2015-16 to 1,785 crores in 2016-17. And a further corresponding drop to 1,155 crore in 2017-18. And again with the total closure of mining in 2018, post-scrapping of renewed mining leases and the treasury crisis thereupon, from 2018 to 19, the state government again moves for overdrafts heavily to the tune of over 200 crore per month to pay its army of almost 60,000 staff. In fiscal 2019 and 2020, the situation has deteriorated further with the annual state borrowing to the tune of over 2,500 crore. The audited actual figures expected to figure in the upcoming audited state finance accounts. The maintenance, establishment and the developmental works suffered a severe hit and the contractors undertaking public works were left high and dry. The state has fallen into a death trap and it is becoming impossible to come out of it. Here is Goa's present debt scenario. The loan liability in 2012 was 10,000 crores. It rose up to 19,000 crores in 2018. and it is expected to reach 25,000 crores in 2022. In 2012 was 700 crores. In 2018 it rose to 1,500 crores. While in 2022 it is expected to touch 3,000 crores. While the principal repayment was 400 crores per year in 2012, it rose to 800 crore per year in 2018 and is expected to touch 1,800 crore a year in the year 2022. This was despite Centre almost fully funding its every infra project in the national highway, transport and the tourism circuit. The state rapidly lost its fiscal capability to cater to the infrastructural need, and it finds difficult to even contribute its share to the centrally funded infra projects. With the lost fiscal autonomy, the state is fully dependent and at the mercy of the centre for its infrastructural and developmental needs. Suyash Gaunekar for Prudent.
Hello and welcome to this week's debate in Goa Ahead. Can Goa's economy get back on its feet? And to debate on this topic, I have four eminent panelists with me. Senior journalist, news editor of Prudent and one of Goa's foremost voices on economy, Suyash Gaunekar. Suyash, welcome to the show. Leader of opposition and former Chief Minister of Goa, Congress leader Digambar Kamat. Senior leader and spokesperson of the BJP, Subhash Phal Dessai. And convener of the Aam Aadmi Party Goa, Rahul Mhambre. All of you, welcome to this debate. Suyash, I'll directly start with you. How dire is the condition of Goan economy right now? If you have to explain to our viewers nationwide, how would you explain it? How dire is the state of Goa's economy right now?
The fact is that in 2012, when we lost 20% of the GDP from the state economy, the government, instead of moving for austerity measures, expenditure cuts, and it's disciplining itself in the fiscal front, it started lavishly borrowing the thousands of crores, and it has spent lavishly on the revenue schemes also. The doles continued for last almost 8 years. If you look at the borrowings for last almost 8 years, we have borrowed almost 14,000 crores, and out of those 14,000 crores, if you see a signature project other than the Atal Setu worth 500 to 550 crores, you don't see any big infrastructure coming from the capital investment. So where are those 14,000 crores gone? So in fact, it's clear that it was spent, almost 30% was spent on the repayment of the past borrowings, and rest has gone into the revenue and expenditure and on all your doles and all those things. Yeah. You knew fully that the economy would contract, but still you went ahead with your projected borrowings in the budget. They were almost around 2,700 crores borrowing projected. You went ahead with it, and now you are in excess of almost 12% of the borrowing beyond your GDP capacity. Yeah. As per the fiscal commission's report, you should not cross your state liability should not cross more than 27% of the GDP. You are now touching almost 40% for the borrowing. Even the fiscal deficit, which should not cross 3% of your GDP, you are crossing those limits, knowing fully that the GDP would contract, and it is contracting.
Yeah. I think very, very important point, Suyash. Rahul Mhambre, I'll straight go to you. You have heard in a nutshell what is the state of our economy from Suyash. How do you react to it when you look at the spending pattern of government of Goa, the priorities in terms of state finances? What do you feel?
See, Pramod, the state finances have been miserable last 2 or 3 years back. COVID has escalated it. So if you see the state finances, the Goa government has been borrowing every 2 weeks 100 crores. As Suyash himself said it, we have been debt-ridden state, and I scare it will go into a debt trap. Right now, borrowing stands at around 20,000 crores. Now, even if you see the recent central government announced that 100 crores will be given towards 60th Liberation Day. Our CM comes out with a statement that will spend this amount on celebration. He doesn't realize the plight of an ordinary Goan. This was the time that 100 crores could be better utilized This was a time that 100 crores could be better utilized to giving relief to the ordinary Goan who has felt the stress of COVID. We all know tourism is down completely. All economic activities have slowed down. So it was the time this 100 crores can be better utilized to give relief to an ordinary Goan rather than just blowing it upon 68-day celebrations. Second,
Yeah, go
second,
ahead.
yeah. Secondly, if you see the investment climate, we have got a Goa Investment Promotion Board. That's merely a slogan. We don't have investments coming in. In fact, our main institution like GSI, Goa Small Industries, they are on record saying that it's completely corruption ridden. Nothing moves in GIDC unless a bribe is paid. The chairman has been on record on that. So unless we have got a climate which is conducive to investment, no investor will park their money in Goa. CREDA, the Association of Builders, they again have been on record saying that 8% of the total project cost is paid as bribes.
Yeah, very crucial points, Rahul Mhambre. I now go to Digambar Kamat, former Chief Minister of the state. Sir, you handled the state till 2012, and within next 8 years, you are seeing the state of the economy. How do you react to it?
See, this government has pushed Goans into a financial emergency and Goa overall towards bankruptcy. See, the total debts are touching nearly 25,000 crores, which you can never imagine. Today's situation, where I'm just giving an example. There was a government scheme of giving house building allowance to the government servants. There are around 5,000 government servants who are taking benefit under this scheme. This scheme was started in 1987. Financial difficulties, but no government cancelled this scheme or abandoned this scheme. This is the first time that this government has discontinued this scheme, putting all the 5,000 employees to a real hardship. Similarly, in the month of May, I met Chief Minister personally. I requested him, gave him a letter that, see, the vulnerable section of the society, like rickshawalas, taxiwalas, motorcycle pilots, hajekar, chanekar, pulkar, they are in a very bad shape today. They require some help. So I had suggested to him that please work out a package of 100 crores. I had spoken to some of the economists and they said that give some help to this vulnerable section so that economy can move. They will put that money back into the market. That will help the economy. So I had requested the Chief Minister that, see, if you give them a package of 100 crores, it will help improve the economy. Plus, it will help drastically the vulnerable section, the weaker section in the society. Chief Minister was initially convinced. He also said that he will try to work out something. But till today, that has not come.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Digambar Bab. Subash Bab, before I go back to Suyash, how do you defend this? The more we talk about it, it looks like this is a classic case of misplaced priorities. How do you defend these kind of economic policies of your government?
No. You said that we had spent lavishly, but if you go to see, even after that time, when the 40% of the revenue used to come from the mining sector alone, and it was contributing to a very large amount in the developmental sector of this. But if you go and see during those times, you will not find any of the big projects happening in Goa, which I would say that all those infrastructure or logistic which was required during those times when the revenue at its peak. But after 2012, if you go and analyze that, the people who were suffering from this, like every individual, every family was going through a tough time. In order to give them some sustainability, the government of Goa introduced a scheme like Grahadar, Ladli Lakshmi, mining dependent schemes, incentives to the truck owners, incentives to the employees. This is how during the crisis also government has strongly stood behind all the citizens of Goa. And even in these circumstances, we have taken up lots of infrastructural projects like roads, bridges, everywhere you will find today. You just compare, go and see, look at the infrastructure before 2012, and you look at within this 7-8 years of time, you will find drastic change. One who has visited before 2012, when he comes back in 2020, you will find there's a lot of development infrastructure. And why this expenditure is being done on such kind of projects, it is not that we have not done or taken any austerity measures. We have taken all what was required. It was not lavishly spent, as Mr. Suyash has said. It is not lavishly spent, but it was a necessity. It was mandatory to take up all these issues and give benefit to the weaker section of our society today.
Okay, so okay, fair points. Suyash, respond to that. What I understand after listening to Subhash Babu is very simple. Just because a major arm of economy has been shut down, state cannot stop itself from being a welfare state. The welfare measures, the welfareism, state cannot deviate from it just because one arm of the economy is shut. Do you agree with that logic, or this is a classic conflict between populist politics versus rational economics?
Well, government has to understand one thing, that in fact this such schemes or those does not generate any economic activity. You have to first of all incentivize an entrepreneur to generate an economic activity. That's one. And second thing is, why can't the government afford these schemes or such a huge borrowing nowadays? Government has to look into it pragmatically, sincerely and thoroughly, rather than going into the bureaucratic arguments of exaggerated GDPs and overestimated GDPs. If your GDP is 94,000 crore as on date and it is growing at 10 to 12%, why are you giving such doles to the people? Your average income or the per capita income of the Goan is almost 6 lakhs per year. So a family unit of 5 will have a 30 lakh income per year. Why are you giving 5,000 rupees doles to a income tax return filer resident? Even the newborn baby will have to file an income tax return as per your GDP figures. They are 92,000 crores. But that's not the reality. Your GDP figures are not the reality. If your GDP is growing at 10.5%, 10 to 12%, why is your job generation stagnated? Where is your job generation? Why is the government making such announcements of 10,000 jobs if your economy is generating the jobs? Where is your consumption? Your GDP, your commercial tax, even in the VAT regime and in the GST regime, has been stagnated at around 3,500 crores. You should have much more tax to GDP ratio.
Okay.
Why can't you even execute a budget of 21,000 crores? Your budget executions for last 8 years are hovering around 38 to 39%. Why is it so? You can't even execute a 12,000 crore budget for a 92,000 crore GDP.
Okay.
So you must be realistic, pragmatic, and look at it sincerely. Where you have to spend, where you have to borrow, where you have to spend, and where you have to generate an economic activity.
Very fair, very valid, completely statistic-based points. Rahul Mhambre, when you listen to this, what do you call it? Because I call this a classic battle between populist politics versus rational economics. How do you see it?
The union government brings out the ratings, the ease of doing business. Now Goa has slipped from 21 to 24. That is the question the chief minister addressed. Why is it falling? The rating is falling. He has to have a dialogue with all the industry, the chambers of commerce. The ease of business. Now we had got a vibrant Goa summit where they spent almost 2 crore rupees. The CM should tell us what are the new investments did he get in the state. Yes, we have a system which is clear, which is honest, which gives approvals within a fixed time. Easy process. Unless it is there, we cannot have investments coming in. The economic activity will not revive. Whatever borrowing is done should have been for the capital expenditure. As a chartered accountant, I can tell you, it's right now being used for revenue expenditure to meet expenditure of the employees and all. It should have generated employment opportunities through capital expenditure, which is not being done so far.
Yeah, very valid points, Rahul Mhambre. Digambar Bab, frankly, what do you see? A misplay, because you are the finance minister also, you are holding the finance portfolio also when you are the chief minister. When you look at this situation, what do you see? Misplaced priorities, bad economics, or that is how just our politics is?
See, I have been requesting the chief minister always that you fix up your criteria of funding the priority sector. You identify which shall be the priorities. For example, we present many schemes in the budget. Sometimes we do not make provisions in the budget. Now, today's situation, like schemes like DSSY, Graha Aadhar, senior citizens, persons with disabilities, their pensions, last 7-8 months, we have not been able to pay them. Their plight is very miserable.
Very good point, Digambar Bab. Subhash Bab, what do you want to say? Where there are many, from ease of doing business to corruption charges to bad economics, all issues have been raised in this debate. Do you at least accept that we have an economics problem, or you just say that there is no problem in the economy?
I don't think the way you are projecting that it is a bad economy or the measures required or priority sectors are not identified. I don't think what is required today is to reach to the common man and give them the relief in these circumstances. It is very easy to say that all these have not, the investment has not come in, the industries are not coming. But go to see if you during these election years, people are just exaggerating all the issues. If you see why there should be a protest against IIT, why should be a protest against the double tracking, why should be a protest against transmission lines? These are the things, long-term benefit earning or revenue generating projects of the governments are being blocked because of the political reasons.
Suyash, very quickly, final comments and that argument that people are blocking capital expenditure projects and on one hand, and then you are saying that government is not doing anything. How do you respond to that? And your one advice to the government, what it needs to do to at least get our economy back on its feet?
Well, let me into the nutshell tell the revenue position of the state as on date, and panelists can decide whether we can afford all these things. The revenue position was, in the first quarter, it was 350 crores of revenue per month. Second quarter, it came to 600 crores a month. Now it is almost 800 crores a month. But your budget budget that is proposed in the budget is 1100 crores a month, whereas your actual revenues today are almost 600 crores a month. By the year end, final fiscal end, it might touch 850 crores a month. But look at the expenditures. You are spending 252 crores, pinpoint 252 crores on the salary, 162 crores on pension and gratuity, 148 crores on the salaries of education department. NPS, you are shelling out another 25 crores. On interest payments, you are shelling out another 98 crores a month. So net expenditure is almost 600 crores a month. So you don't have a single pie. Add it up, you don't have a single pie to spend even for schemes. Then over and above it, you have the expenditure remaining for maintenance and establishment, and then comes the project. So not a single, you have to have a revenue of almost 1000 crores today to move in for maintenance, establishment, and then the development. Okay. But today it's only 600 crores, you are 400 crores deficit a month. Yeah. Second, the final advice, I think the government should, with the primary sector, focus now on the manufacturing sector, because that is the sector which is going to generate jobs for you.
Digambar Bab, how do you respond to that? And final thing, you have been a chief minister, you have been a finance minister. What is your advice to this government?
I'm replying to the issue raised that projects are being opposed and all like that. See, government first of all has to be very sensitive to the people's protest. I was the chief minister. You remember? My government has scrapped the SEZ policies, withdrawn the SEZs, mainly because of the protest from the people, in spite of the fact that SEZ was creation of our own government. Even it was a central government's pet project. In spite of that, I decided that we should not have it if people don't want it. And that is why I think government has to be sensitive to the people's protest. There is no question of saying that people are protesting, because the projects have to be for the benefit of the people. If you want to really have some financial austerity measures, you immediately stop unwanted expenditure, adopt austerity measures, implement Gonchedai scheme, which will help the vulnerable section, and start implementing Vision Document 2035, which is in the interest of the state.
Thanks a lot, Digambar. Rahul Mhambre, final comments and your advice to the government.
Yeah, the co-panelists, Suyash, they mentioned that focus of the government should be on manufacturing. But what is the focus of this government? Making Goa a coal hub, making Goa a conduit for transport of coal. Let the government explain in what way this project is good for Goa, in what way the Gaunekar is benefited, how much revenue does the government earn. It does not make any sense to Goa being made a coal hub just to transport coal from MPT to Karnataka. That does not make any economic sense to the state and to an ordinary Goan.
Okay. Subhash Bhai, final comments, simple question. Looking at the statistics, we all feel that we are entering into a debt trap and it will be practically impossible to come out of it. How do you look at this and what is your advice to your own government? Because, okay, you are saying you are doing so many things, but at the same time, you are admitting also that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. What is your advice to the government?
Pramod Bab, when you place before all these facts and figure, one thing you should also notice that the problem of pandemic is not affected only the Goan economy. When you raise that we do not have the income of 600 crores and which was required to be more than 1,000 crores, if you go to any state or any part of the world, you will find today the same statistics. In these circumstances, even if whatever is generated is spent on the weaker section so that they can sustain in this pandemic situation. About the austerity measures, you can show me any populist scheme when you call it. See, if you close down the Grahadar, if you close down the DSS, if you close down the DDSSY, are you happy? Will you tell me that, okay, these are populist schemes, let us not spend on them and we will divert all these priorities to somewhere else, when only some portion of the interest was cut down for housing finance scheme of the government. Digambar Kamat is raising issues over there. Are these not the austerity measures? When people down the line are suffering, and to some extent, if we are cutting down our cost on those things where government servants are affected, you raise the issues on that. Again, you say that the 100 crores which has come should be given to all those people, Chanekar, Renner, all those motorcycle pilots. We are again with all these weaker section. But the government of Goa or Dr. Pramod Sawant, the chief minister, would like to generate a permanent kind of revenue model for all these things.
Subhash Bab, Rahul Mhambre, I'm completely out of time. I think the only sentiment that people of Goa want to convey to its government is very simple, that okay, politics is fine, populist measures are fine, but eventually in the long run you cannot get into a debt trap, and most importantly, you cannot sacrifice economics at the altar of politics. Thanks a lot everybody for participating in this debate. Keep watching. Go ahead.
Marching to new heights of development under the dynamic and young leadership of Dr. Pramod Sawant. A visionary leader, a meticulous administrator, tirelessly working on the dream to take Goa ahead. Goa Ahead is brought to you by the Department of Information and Publicity, Government of Goa.